Is my mic okay, by the way?
No,
Yeah, it's
I
good,
don't
man.
like it.
no, it's got this weird high-pitched screeching noise that's coming out of it.
It's Nathan's mum in the
Welcome to the next episode of your favourite Battletech podcast, the Hexperts. This episode is episode 10, and it's Rolling Thunder, Hidden Marik. Lewis, take it away.
Oh boy. Well, your host today, myself, Lewis. You've just heard Dom. I'm not going to say hello again.
That's me.
That's him. We've got Tom over there,
On target.
and we've got Nathan over
My wife.
Oh God.
It's so funny how things become funny over time after not being like funny for a long time. Like the Borat my wife thing is definitely funny again. Like
Yeah.
100% that is now like an actual funny joke.
Yeah, that is true. But yes, this evening we're going to be talking through the Rolling Thunder. Is it source book, Tom?
Yeah, it's the first in something that I want to start off, which has unsuccessfully not been taken on in the FASA features series. We're looking through at some points when we want to looking through some old FASA source books, and today is Rolling Thunder, hence the name and all that stuff.
And do
pretty
we
cool.
like FASA? Are they cool or not?
They're pretty cool.
I like
They originally did Battletech.
So that makes it pretty cool.
Okay. Because I've seen some people saying that FASA are bad and they make terrible terrible mechs and that they're shit. Is that not true?
No, I think that's wrong. I think there's some people don't like the older mechs because they're old, but they're pretty cool now.
Okay. See, I was seeing a lot of like comments on Facebook effectively saying that FASA ruined Battletech. So if you have any opinions about that, please let us know.
No, I've not seen those. I don't know what's what Facebook's you been on, Dom. But yeah.
I've been on fuckbook.
Oh dear. Well, anyway, before we get on to the main segment, let's go through hobby progress and games played. So we will start with Tom today because we're mixing things up. Oh boy!
Oh my god! Well, hobby progress was very fast this week. We've had a bumper week of me being in a fugue state once again. I will talk about the Battletech stuff I did, and then the stuff that wasn't Battletech.
And
Battletech-wise,
we'll cut that bit out.
Yeah. Battletech-wise, I just made some progress on the stuff for UK Games Expo. It wasn't really interesting. It was just blocking in a few panels, doing the metals, crying over the fact that the Sting is the wrong variant.
This is Wasp. It's not a variant.
The Wasp was I can't even get the right mech choice. And then I fell into a fugue state after I played Marik a couple of weeks ago, where he showed me all of his machining Krieger stuff, which is a 1/35th or 1/20th scale thing from Japan. It's like very sort of neo-futuristic, but with like World War I and World War II inspiration. So that's super cool. And I've fallen down the rabbit hole with that.
I don't even know how you're doing this. There's like some of these games I think you just make up. There's no...
So it's not a game. It's not a game. It's just a line of models that are
Lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle. And then, so I've been getting up onto my Mac, but I'm kind of waiting for a lot of stuff to come from Japan because like 4 companies make them. Hasegawa is the one that I buy most of, but they are quite difficult to get hold of a lot of the time just because they do limited runs. So that's been a challenge and slightly expensive, but what's a hobby budget for if not to spend?
Yeah.
It's a classic saying, Tom. It's a classic saying.
It is a classic saying. Yeah, the main part of the hobby is buying the models. The rest of it's all secondary.
I'm not sure if that's completely correct.
So true.
Is that all your hobby for this week then, Tom?
I did actually play Game of Infinity with Adam.
Nah, we don't care about that.
Yeah, no. It was so cool. I got my hackers to. He had something called a tag, which is a big sort of stompy robot. Funnily enough, it's Battletech related. And what my hackers did something called Total Control, where I could possess it. So I killed most of his army with his own model. I still
That's
lost.
cool.
Bro, I mean, I was wondering what total control meant for a minute there, but thank you. For that.
Yeah, if anything, if your model's hackable, you can be total controlled, which is cool. Except I killed most of his army, and then still lost the game somehow.
Didn't the tank?
Oh.
Didn't the tank get back control and then kill the rest of you?
Oh yeah, the tag. Yeah, well, yeah, the tag killed some of my stuff. I took it over. I then killed all of his stuff, and then he unpossessed himself, and then shot all of my stuff. So to be fair, MVP of that game was the tag. No one else really did anything.
Well, that seems fair.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that's all of your progress then, Tom. I'm going to throw
Mhm.
another crazy into the works. Dom, what about your hobby?
Mate, what? I'm normally third or fourth. Wait, what?
Fourth.
Anyway, how's my hobby been going? You know what, Lewis? It's been going well. I've been playing this video game, right?
Oh dear,
I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called Marvel Rivals.
you
No.
got to get off the Marvel Rivals.
No, to be fair, this week I've actually been painting a fair bit. I've been painting a lot for my X-Men in Marvel Crisis Protocol. I have seen also my lance that I created of my own volition and with my own skill and knowledge of Battletech. I've seen it in action now. I saw it on Wednesday being played by one of the chaps at the local store. He took it upon himself to use my lance because he was so inspired by how great the what was it called again? Warhammer, the Flea, the
Atlas,
and
and the Star
the Atlas and the Star Slayer. He was so inspired by my Battletech knowledge that he took it upon himself to use it. And did it go well? I think it went well, right?
I don't know. I wasn't there Wednesday, so you know. As you said when you witnessed it, but no.
It was
Well,
This does kind of lead into me.
well, that's the
Thursday,
thing. I'm so confused about Battletech. I don't know who's winning or losing. I don't know.
Thursday, I got my ass beat using my lance from the episode after Lewis.
You beat your ass with your own lance. That's so cool.
No. With your lance. Your lance beat my lance.
Oh, my lance beat your ass with your lance.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm glad
Might
you
as
said
well have. But yeah, it took multiple turns just for a longbow and a catapult to take down a single flea, which also ended up with a longbow falling over multiple times.
Mm.
And yeah, I was playing against Adam, who goes is it Adam Moleman?
Adam Moleman.
Molehands?
Not Molehands.
Yeah.
Adam Moleman from the
Sorry, that's how you put it in the WhatsApp when I asked who I was playing. So, but yeah, it was a very fun game, to be fair. Other than that, the only hobby I've done is the best kind of hobby, buying stuff. I went around having a look for some vintage games, and I found a version of MechWarrior 3050 for the SNES. That was 45 quid. So I said, I'm going to wait till payday to get that. And instead, I got, for £1 whole, Mech Assault 2 Lone Wolf, which
So
is...
tangent cast. Do you have a SNES?
No, but I have a shelf.
I've got a SNES, so maybe we could do a Battletech play
We could
party.
play.
We could all get together and we could play.
Get our pajamas on and drink diet sodas until
Why would I-
the sun goes down.
Sorry, we're meant to socialize outside of the podcast.
Oh, no, of course not. That's
No,
disgusting.
I hate you guys. I'm only here for all of the money that we're making.
That's not what you were saying last night, Tom, but you know, we'll just
Waft.
that.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
Well,
Well,
nothing else between us.
Oh dear. Anyway, so that is that all of your hobby, Nathan?
well, no, I also got Ice Hole Nazgul. That's right. Lead? No, it would be pewter, wouldn't it? Because it's the Lord of the Rings. Sadly, not lead. They're not as tasty as they should be, but you know, we'll move past that.
You silly bitch.
I'm going to see. I'm going to see if I can use them all in Lord of the Rings, seeing that Thanos snapped my actual army, Farharad, also known as Camel Riders up the wazoo. And if I can't, I'll just paint them up and sell them each for what I paid for them. So yeah.
Nice.
Super duper.
Cool.
Well, then that'll just leave me then. This week.
Boo,
Oh,
boo, boo.
this is what it's so mean.
Lewis doesn't do hobby.
I do like lots of hobby. I painted like
He doesn't even read books.
I painted one whole javelin this week. and I played a game against friend of the podcast Owen with my Lance off Lance. I did lose, but that's not because it's a -3 out of 10 Lance. Apparently,
It is a -3 out of 10 Lance.
it's not a -3.
Lance rated badly. Lance loses. It's not because it was rated badly. Okay.
Oh, it was played against Owen's Highlander, Marauder 3, Griffin 1S, and Locust 1E. We were playing like a King of the Hill game with 2 hills. Pretty much.
Bobby and Hank.
Hey!
Yeah. Oh dear. Anyway, so it pretty much went down to the dragon and catapult fighting the Marauder and Locust, knocking limbs off each other, and then the Panther and Phoenix Hawk trying to jump around and avoid the Highlander while trying to smack away the Griffin. I didn't really have the tonnage to hold the hills, and when I did get the tonnage, my catapult fell over, its leg fell off, so didn't get enough time on the objectives. But it was closer than you think it might have been, and the Lance did pretty well, and I think I might get the dragon into some more games coming up because it was pretty fun to use, running around punching and kicking other mechs.
Well, Lewis, that's what you get for having a -3 out of 10 Lance. So
I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, that's our hobby, I suppose, for this week. Let's move on to some news then. News actually is a little bit of news this week. There's some good news. Good news as well.
there's a new Pope.
The new Pope.
That wasn't exactly what I was going for, but
Excellent news.
It's from Chicago. Now the Blues Brothers can get more direct missions from God.
So true, actually. So true.
And did you know in Battletech that the Pope has a mech himself?
He does. It's a regent with a Pope hat on it and some sensors hanging off the guns.
I don't think that's officially what the regent looks
No,
like.
no, Lewis. Someone paid for it in the Kickstarter, and so it is in the game.
Okay. Well, there's.
And did you know that the Pope in real life has a battle mech? It's a Legion got a Pope hat.
There is also a legion of battle mechs hidden under the Vatican.
Oh, 110%.
Just like
Yeah.
Battletech.
So,
Yeah, but actually, the Comstar is just a continuation of the Pope.
So, are you going to try and get all our listeners to paint up a regent, put a Pope hat on it, and send them to the Vatican?
Yeah, pretty much. I think we should. Obviously, Battletech, we should get in good with the Pope. I think that's a really important thing.
Yeah.
Kiss the ring, baby.
Well,
Kiss the ring!
technically, there's 2 popes in the Battletech timeline. Kind of.
A new Avalon one. Ugh.
It's a new Avalon one that's got the regent, isn't it? It's the normal pope or the Terror Pope. I don't think has a battle mech.
Yeah.
Or a Pope. I'm so sorry.
Anyway, that wasn't exactly the news that I was going for. Let's move on to some other news. But yes, for the UK anyway, in Europe, the Kickstarter retail exclusivity ends the 17th of May, I believe, which means, in theory, from that date, we can start seeing the Mercenaries boxes appearing in stores. I don't know how quick they'll get into stores, but as far as I'm aware, they're sitting in the warehouses ready to go, but I could be wrong on that. So keep an eye out for the Mercenary stuff appearing after the 17th in the UK and Europe. I'm looking forward to I'm looking forward to getting some more mechs, particularly the Jaeger mech. Any boxes you guys are lining up to get after the date?
I'm sorry, Lewis. I'm too Machine Krieg pilled at the
For
moment.
God's sake, Tom. Nathan, is there anything you're looking forward to getting from the Kickstarter?
I just want anything that has clan mechs in there, to be honest. I haven't actually had a proper little deep dive into what the Kickstarter has, seeing that I missed it and then it didn't come out
Yeah, well,
for like 5 years.
there's 2 boxes that are specifically clan mechs that you'll probably like.
Ooh.
Yeah, to be fair, and also you're going to be the only one buying them because other people have good taste.
No. There's lots of 2Cs in there. They're pretty cool. And the Black Python you've got, that's pretty nasty. That is.
That's what they call me.
Oh dear. Okay,
Don't call him the Black Pipe.
Let's move on.
He's not got 12 inches, but it smells like a foot.
No,
Let's
dear.
move on.
Okay, dear.
I've only got 8 and 6 jumping.
Oh dear. Okay. So yeah, we're moving on from there. Another good bit of news. or maybe contentious for some, is that Iron Wind Metals and Catalyst Game Labs have joined forces. I believe Catalyst has bought them, or I don't know what the actual merger involves, but they now are owned by the same people. So it means that
Business things have happened.
business has happened. So some people are a bit upset about
Business
this,
tech.
but I know personally I'm quite keen on it. I gather there may be some restrictions on selling single mechs not in blind boxes, but I assume now that means that can be done because it's not, they're owned by the same people, so that's something they can all do. But hopefully it means we get some singles, and hopefully it might be easier for us to get some metals going forward. But yeah, anything you guys are looking forward to with
So
that?
just to be clear, that means that Catalyst Game Lab, the company that own the Battletech, like sort of miniature IP, have purchased one of the producers of guys that make unofficial miniatures. How does that make any
No,
sense?
there's
No.
we were as you're talking about FASA earlier. There was different licenses for making mechs that kind of stayed with certain people as the license broke apart, and so they made single mechs that were metal, and then Catalyst could make bot sets, but they couldn't make single mechs. It's all very complicated and convoluted, and I don't know the ins and outs completely, but this kind of means that some of the different licenses from production now start to fall under the same roof, so there's less hoops people have got to jump through to make and sell things now.
Right, so Catalyst are trying to create they're trying to pull what Disney did when they bought like the Fantastic Four and the X-Men back in-house, right? They're trying to wrestle back
So-
some of those old licenses.
No, because Catalyst doesn't own the IP. Tops
Right.
owns the IP, and Catalyst is just licensed. So, Ironwood Metals. To be fair, this is a really good point actually, because if Catalyst doesn't own the IP and then the IP gets taken away from them, what does IWM do?
They've got other things they make. They make other metal
I think
models.
sure. Is the umbrella company Ironwind's still going to be separate to a point, just like Forge World Miniatures? So if Catalyst are to lose the IP, unless it's taken from Ironwind can still make the single miniatures.
Yeah, potentially. It's just something that I hadn't thought of until now. You know,
Oh.
it might just be something that they need to. It's more of a thought experiment than anything. As long as Catalyst keeps making money, I can't see why Tops would ever take the IP off them.
Yeah.
Welcome to the IP cast. Welcome to the IP spurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, personally, I'm actually quite looking forward to it because it might mean that with the extra like access to like distribution, the
Might get
price-
some IWM in
price-
the UK. Yeah.
the prices might start to drop a bit, and also because of how they are, it might mean that they'll be doing a bit better than, say, Forge World, where they're able just to retain all of their production stuff.
Is this the company that you guys all spent loads of money with?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We bought a bunch of metal models, and I'm still we're getting through them slowly. I know I've got a couple.
I've still got 4 paint, I think.
I think I've got.
Okay, so you're just
Right.
taking your time.
Yeah, it's not. It's nice because they're a lot of the models they've got are multi-part, so you can pose them, but also they usually come with some variant bits as well, so you can change them into different variant or change the Omni loadouts on them, which might mean that we might see that in plastic going forwards, or hopefully it might mean that Ironwind Metals have better access to some of the files and designs from Catalyst, so we might start seeing more newer style.
And to be
mix
clear,
in
we are
that.
not sponsored by Ironwind Metals. However, if you'd like to sponsor us, please reach out to
Hexpertshelpline at gmail.com. However, I don't think they're going to be sponsoring us right now after being bought out. But yes, so those are some good bits of news for us. We've got some events coming up. As mentioned previously, if you want to keep track of events, especially within the UK Discord's a pretty good place. The UK Facebook groups are good, and our friends over at the Tales from the Periphery podcast have an events page on their podcast website, so you can keep track of stuff on there. Better than trying to listen to us every week, because we'll probably get it wrong anyway. But yes, I think there was an event yesterday, which is cool. I think there's some pictures of that coming up, which is cool, from the meme team guys they mentioned last episode. And I think next week there is a Battletech Alpha Strike event in Enfield on the 17th of May. It is a 500 PV reenactment of the Battle for Tricross, so obviously you can have some clan mechs there, the Jade Falcons, boo, versus some Inner Sphere Mechs, so the Lyrans, Federated Commonwealth, Federated Sons kind of / kind of thing, and Mercenary General. So if you're into that, they have a Facebook event. So if you search for Battletech Alpha Strike, Battle for Tricross, and it's in Enfield, you're probably on the right Facebook event. So
The only thing I know about Tricross is that there's a zoo there.
and I'm surprised you didn't start with that earlier.
That's the only thing. Is that a place in the Battletech universe? Is there
Yeah,
a planet?
it's quite an important kind of event, which is why the guys are reenacting it there. There's some cool things that happen there, and Kai Diao does some cool things, buries lots of mechs. Spoilers.
Will there be any cosplayers there?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
But you can cosplay if you want to.
I assume so. I don't think I didn't see anything in any of the notes saying that please do not cosplay. But
Okay, so that's a call to the rest of the Hexperts listener base. If you turn up to the event in cosplay, that would be nice.
It'll be cool. But yeah, so that's pretty much that event. Another event in May, which obviously we talked about a lot. We've got the UK Games Expo coming up on the 30th of May to the 1st of June. There's a bunch of events being run by the Catalyst demo team. Me and Tom will be there. Tom's going to be running some Battletech Mercenaries, Draconis Reach. But I think that's all sold out, isn't it, Tom?
Yeah, unfortunately, guys, it's too late. You're too late.
But
We're all sold out.
But keep an eye on that, because there might be some, if there's any dropouts and stuff, it will pop back up on the events page for UK Games Expo. I think the Drafted for War's all sold out as well, which is an Alpha Strike drafted kind of event. But keep an eye out for that. That's pretty cool. You get to keep your mechs at the end of it for £20. And there are still tickets available for Trial of Position, which is a Battletech Alpha Strike intro, as well as a kind of painting kind of event. I think it's aimed at the younger mech warrior. However, I don't know if there's anything saying that you have to be a younger mech warrior to attend. So you get a little mech that you can paint up and play a game with. And
Yeah, child soldiers.
No, not child soldiers.
Child soldiers.
Getting kids into the hobby early.
Child soldiers.
Anyway, and then lastly, we've got Battletech Aces, which is an event that I'll be running throughout the event, which will be getting you hands-on with the Battletech Aces system, which is, they call it an AI system. I don't know if that's the best way to phrase it. Basically, you're playing against a card-based opponent who the cards will kind of control, and you'll see how well you do against them. And it's a pretty cool system, to be honest. It's great for solo and competitive play. I've been enjoying learning how it works. And I'm looking forward to it coming out in the nearish future, hopefully. Cool. But I think that's everything for the expo. It's getting very close. So yeah, looking forward to seeing you there if you're there. And if not, I might see you at the next one.
If
you're
not,
not there-
glad you're not.
If you're not there, you're square.
You're square.
Yeah, don't be square.
Cool. So we're going to pop to a break, guys, and we'll catch you on the next segment, which is Rolling Thunder Hidden Marik. We'll catch you guys on the flip side. Bye-bye.
See you on the flip side, everyone.
And we're back from break. And we're onto our main segment. And Tom is going to be talking about that right now.
Whoa, thank you, Lewis. So, today's bit of coolness is the First Regulan Hussars, also known as the Rolling Thunder Company. So, history-wise, we're going to have a little bit of a history lesson because we love those. The Rolling Thunder Company was formed in October 3015 from the remnants of 3 First Regulan Hussars companies that were destroyed in the little disagreement that Janos and Anton Marik had. We all remember that one where they just decided to shoot each other.
Who are those people?
They're Mariks.
They do that a lot of the time. They do shoot each other.
What's like the relevancy? Like, what's the backstory there?
So the Mariks are very famous for having civil wars, and in 3015, I think was it Anton Marik that was the Captain General?
I think.
No, I think it.
I can't
I don't know.
It's irrelevant.
Hexperts.
Yeah, the Hexperts. Not much expertise on the Free Worlds League.
The purple bird, boring.
Either way, Anton and Janos Marik, who were brothers, had a fight. There was some bad stuff that happened to the Wolves Dragoons during this as well. But yeah, so anyway, they the First Regulan Hussars got really fucked up during this, and so they had to band them together into a new thing called Rolling Thunder Company.
Rolling
Unlucky-
Thunder!
Unlucky for them, for their loyalty, they were rewarded with plenty of supplies. It just happens it was from the other the Regulan Hussars.
Yes.
It was
So
it was
which team
from
do we
their
like?
fourth and fifth.
Which team do we affiliate with? Which are the good guys?
None of them. So, to begin with, they weren't called Rolling Thunder Company. They were known as Rippers Reavers for their captain, Force Captain Vic the Ripper Davis.
He sounds like a
I'll
nice
be
chap.
honest. I'll be honest,
so-
I know-
Metal detector.
Yeah,
Like,
he's
he sounds like a guy who comes onto low wave radio and freestyles. Because when I heard that name, all I thought is Chip the Ripper.
Unfortunately, he was a bad man. With sadistic glee, he proceeded to carry out his orders to whip the unit into combat readiness, using liberal doses of verbal and physical abuse.
And if there's
So-
one thing that's bad in Marik space, it's liberal.
So after a year, these guys were they were declared ready, and they were put into a raid against actually the Lyran world of Dixie, supporting
What?
the left flank of the Wolf's Dragoons themselves.
Wait,
Very
so
cool.
the Dixie, as in the Dixie, as in the south, sort of. You know?
Yeah. Oh, we're
Yeah.
going
About-
south in the land of traders. That one. Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So they actually went to fight the south, which did not rise again.
Oh no.
However, things went very badly for the Wolf's Dragoons, because a Lyran assault company ambushed them and threatened to split them in two. However,
Lucky then.
Vic the Ripper, he was like, I don't give a shit. And they barreled into the Lyran company's flank and scattered them. It destroyed half of the Reaver's mechs, but saved the day for the Marik raiding force, and prevented the Wolf's Dragoons from being outflanked and destroyed. After this battle, Colonel Jamie Wolfe remarked that the Reaver's approach to battle was like rolling thunder.
Oh,
And so
he
that
said the
was the-
thing. He said the thing. Oh,
Yeah,
Oh my god.
pretty cool. And then their name stuck, so they're now Rolling Thunder, which is cool. So then they basically got put into the back line because, they were doing a bit of raiding over the next 2 years, but they kind of couldn't do much because they were at half strength. So in mid-3019, they were posted back to the Principality of Regulus, which is where they're based, for R&R. So this kind of carries on for a little bit until, Tiber, which is where they were based, rises in revolt to overthrow the current ruling family, something that also happens quite a bit in Marik space. Rolling Thunder found itself involved in bitter street fighting that forced them to carry out atrocities against civilians before they could restore order. So these guys aren't the nicest guys.
yeah.
Yeah.
So they're
However,
they're sort of like the Lewis of Battletech.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
thought-
pretty
I-
much.
I thought I
Yeah.
was the Lewis of Battletech.
You've been downgraded.
Oh.
You're the Lewis of Alpha Strike. You're Alpha Strike Lewis, no?
No, we've retracted our previous statements on Alpha Strike.
Oh, right.
I will never retract my statements.
How do you have?
So they then get switched out into what they believe is to be a below their station duty to pull security on Atreus, because it's the capital of the Free World League. Who's going to attack Atreus? So they didn't particularly like that until in September 3022, they were selected to be part of the Honor Guard to welcome Subhash Indrahar, who was the director of the Drak Combine's internal security forces, to Atreus. So they have actually done some cool stuff.
Yeah.
Indrahar
What
is
is cool? What is cool about that? Because I don't really understand the concept of why that would be
so
cool.
Indrahar is a relatively well-known character in the 3025 Battletech. He's the leader of the ISF, so he's like the spy master of the Draconis Combine, and he does
Scheming
actually
eunuch.
pull off some. He's a scheming eunuch, yeah, very much a scheming eunuch.
It would
And
be kind
then-
of like if Dad's army was put in charge of escorting like the head of the CIA, about pretty much.
Oh, okay. That
That's
makes it
right.
make sense.
That's a bit cruel to Rolling Thunder.
I think it's a bit cruel to Dad's army.
Mm.
Actually, I was being kind of.
So after this, Vic the Ripper, he gets transferred off to a new command, and they're given a new guy, Force Captain Gerald Cameron Jones, who is actually of the same familial line as the original Camerons.
Ooh.
The crazy thing is, he's also my local
What's
MP.
So true. So true. Yeah, so he's sort of distantly related to the Camerons that were the Star Lords, which is interesting.
Which is a cool piece of trivia.
What's a Star Lord? What's a Star Lord?
The Star League had the Star Lords, who were like the kings.
They're pretty
Okay.
much, they're like the Guardians of the Galaxy, I'd say.
Oh, right. They're I Am Groot.
Yeah, they are. They're Star Lord.
Makes sense. I understand that.
What a bunch of assholes! That was in the first film.
Tom's references.
There you
Okay.
go,
This guy knows his stuff.
Yeah.
I know my stuff all the time. So we then see them doing, they do some counterinsurgency duty, they do some reconnaissance. Their next sort of big thing is that they're transferred to the Capellan frontier in 3025. And they arrive on a planet called Callaway 6, which a regiment of Macaron's armoured cavalry is attacking. But Big Mac did not expect to encounter such a campaign-hardened foe.
Oh no.
So the raid was turned into a rout.
Oh dear.
And then they went and did their own raids, which is pretty cool. And then they kind of just get rotated back to guard duty. So I think what's interesting about these FASA books is that they're not necessarily like the most, Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
They're not the most Mission Impossible. Sometimes the regiments just do get put on guard duty, which is kind of boring.
They're not the most Mary
It's
Sue.
realistic, right?
Yeah, they're just a bunch of guys. They're just like they're
just blokes.
They're pretty competent.
Yeah,
but
whenever your unit gets completely wrecked, as it seems to tend to do to these guys after a big campaign, they just get put on guard duty till they build up again, and then get sent back at the Capellans.
Yeah, which is something that I actually really like, because it shows. I think what I like about these books, especially, I know Modern Battletech does it as well, but these are very kind of emblematic of it. Is the units are not invincible. Like the named units aren't able to just take punishment after punishment after punishment,
unless you're the Wolf Dragoons.
Yeah, but they have 5 galaxies.
Yeah,
Lewis.
I suppose.
This is one company.
Yeah.
So who is the leader of Rolling Thunder as of 3025? The answer is a man named Tommaso Kinchuhara, who is a colonel in the
Italian and a little bit Japanese as well.
I don't know.
Is
the image looks
yeah.
relatively Asian, but
We have him up right now for eye-based views.
who will see this in 3 weeks?
Can I just say that you can listen to this podcast on YouTube, which a lot of our listeners do use for their primary podcast needs. However, if you'd like to listen to our episodes early, you can find them on Spotify. Is that right, Lewis?
Yes. But
you can actually find them before we've recorded them on Spotify. That's what Dom means.
Yeah, you can find the temporal episodes, the temporal descriptive episodes via Spotify.
Yeah,
if you're really hankering for your latest dose.
However, you will have to be careful because it is a bit of a tricky temporal node, and if you don't listen to it correctly, one of us might crawl out there. So just have like a broom handle ready just to shove us back in there to record more episodes.
Yeah,
I do like going through temporal nodes, so it's mainly going to be me.
Cool.
But don't be surprised if Nathan opens his mouth with the broom handle.
So Tom, can you tell us some more about this fella then? Who's
So,
the leader of Rolling Thunder?
Well, so Kinchuhara isn't the leader of Rolling Thunder. He's the leader of the First Regulan Hussars. So he's their boss basically. So he is relatively, standard gentleman. He's got a very good record of command. He graduated from Princefield Military Academy at the top of his class. He set an academy record for the most duels fought.
Yeah. And
by duels, I don't mean mech warrior duels. He is a swordsman.
Oh, I thought you meant he just was fighting vapes.
No, he's not. He's not fighting vapes. No, he's actually a very good swordsman. So he likes to do that in his free time.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the guys that go to private school end up being pretty good at sword fighting, if you know what I mean.
Don't. Carry on, please.
So he sees Rolling Thunder as the best unit in the Regulan Hussars and constantly works to maintain their morale and esprit de corps. And then he also insists on strict military discipline as well. So this does cause a bit of grumbling among the more independent soldiers, but the vast majority understand this and respect his methods. So, however, he does do this to every member of the regiment, regardless of who they are or their rank. So this is a problem within the Free Worlds League, is a lot of people are tied to nobility and are kind of factional. So there's a bit of factionalism going on. So there is actually a worry that you might, someone might not actually follow your command because you follow a different, like you're kind of part of a different political faction. But
Sort of
he's
like Nepo babies.
Yeah, so not as much as the Steiners, but there are some Nepo babies going on, which actually is important because the actual leader of the Rolling Thunder is a Nepo baby.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. But what's interesting, he's a noted fencer and a marksman. He prefers slug throwers, as it's noted in the book, or sort of actual pistols with, ammunition, rather than laser pistols because of the greater skill required for accurate shots.
Mm-hmm.
So he's a man that tries to do
That's
the
a bit
best in
of
everything he can.
It's like a little bit of it also.
I think he's a little bit pretentious. But when he directs battles from his mobile headquarters or the command dropship, known as the Belisarius. But whenever possible, he leads his headquarters to observe the battlefield firsthand. And when he does this, he goes onto the battlefield with a dark grey Orion.
Yes.
Which I believe, it doesn't say here, but I imagine it's the 1K.
Yeah, probably. That makes sense for them. Cool.
Which is pretty cool. So, I was thinking, gentlemen, that the best way to go through these guys, because there's only 12 people, is that we would look at them lance by lance. So we'll talk about what mechs are in each lance, and then we'll talk about whether we think that's a good lance for what it's meant to be doing. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Perfect. So we'll start off with the command lance, which is where every good company starts. So the force captain is Gerald Cameron Jones, who is Ripper Davis's. He's his successor after Davis was promoted to major and given command of the company's parent unit, the Eastern Star Strike Battalion.
Yeah.
So he comes in with a BLR 1G Battlemaster, so a base Battlemaster. Second to him is Lieutenant Alexandra Cherenkov, or Lexi, who's in a Victor 9B.
Solid.
Yep. Third is Paul de Vries in his Hunchback 4G.
What a lad.
And he's pretty cool. And finally, we have Sergeant Peter Janssen in his Hermes 2S.
Oh, we know about those Hermes, don't we?
However, the only thing to say, before we talk about this, we're obviously going to take it as a whole. The Hermes, as of the book, has suffered head and leg damage.
Ooh.
So the head only has 8 points of armor, and the leg only has 10 points of armor. The left leg.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty cool in this book that some of the mechs actually, they're not all pristine. It's like, actually, this is waiting for some repairs.
Yeah. So, what do you think of these guys as a command lance?
I think they're the Battlemaster, Victor, and the Hunchback. They want to, I suppose, definitely the Victor and the Hunchback want to get in your face. Battlemaster probably does, but it's at least got a bit of range on the way there. The Hermes is a bit of an unusual one to be in there, but I think we might obviously go through what that mech might be doing later on. But just within that lance, I suppose it's the recon element, but I suppose you the three just want to get in your face, just unload lots of nasty guns into you.
Yeah, so actually in the fluff, he was added from the 5th Regulan Hussars to increase the reconnaissance capabilities of the company.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So he's specifically there to be able to do force recon.
Cool.
Whereas I imagine he is a lot quicker than, say, a Victor coming over a hill.
Yeah, they're very much I think it's very much like, seems to be like an anvil force there. I suppose they're something you'd bang into something. If you wouldn't want that coming towards you, that's like an immovable, unstoppable force, I'd say maybe, or a immovable object. It's you really wouldn't want to be walking into that during that time period.
No, I think there's a lot of armor there and a lot of AC-20s.
Cool.
Yeah, I quite like it. I like the Battlemaster. It's always a good command mech. You know, you can't always scoop out most of the Dragon's internals and replace them with command computers like some people do. I was going to comment on how light it is because earlier in the book it says obviously that the parent regiment, the first Hussars, at like the first and second are pretty much just like heavy assault like forces. So I'm surprised how light it is, but it does make sense because the fifth are also said to be the recon. So it makes sense how the person in the Hermes is from that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's I think that's really cool how they've tied it in. You know, it's that kind of it's that attention to detail that I really like with this kind of book. But I do believe that these guys are allowed a little bit more kind of latitude as they are technically their own thing.
Yep.
They're not.
They're a renowned company,
Yeah.
so they can get away with a little bit of not being by the book.
Yeah, I'll be honest, and I think Tom and Lewis, if I think you'll be able to understand what I'm saying, but I would not trust Peter Janssen around my kids. He just has a certain look to him.
have you got pictures?
He
of
really
Rob at the
does.
moment?
Yes, in the book, he is a interesting looking fellow.
I think
So
you'll find actually the book says he's the best looking man in the unit, and he's well aware of it. He's tall and
Oh,
athletic
yeah?
with blonde hair and blue eyes. He's popular with female mech warriors during R&R.
Yeah,
Have you?
Nathan,
Okay.
the
Look at
80s
look at the image and tell me you agree with that.
The-
He looks like a casting director in Hollywood.
Nathan,
Okay.
the 80s were a different time.
he
Yeah, the
doesn't-
sexiest man in the 80s was Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah, he was.
that was quite literally the joke I was making. Then he looks like Harvey Weinstein, dead ass. Genuinely.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
Look, if you want to be a mech pilot, baby, you better show me.
yeah. Anyway, it's a pretty solid. It's a pretty solid, but a little bit slow, maybe command lance there. But it's proper. I think a proper anvil. I suppose that we might see coming forward for the rest of the force.
Absolutely, yeah. It's definitely something that I was going to say I'd like to use it. I've painted all of these models, so I will use it at some point.
That makes sense.
Yeah, there you go.
Did you paint like battle damage on Harvey Weinstein's leg and head?
Well, yes, actually, there should be images that I don't know whether they went up last week because I did post them
I
last
think
week,
I put them
but
up last week on Instagram.
we can put them up.
They're up on Instagram. They should be.
That's really cool that you did that. Because
Yeah.
that's like, you're just sticking to the law,
Really
dude.
close
Sticking
it.
to the law.
Yeah, so on the Hermes' head, I've knocked off one of the little bunny ears.
Yeah.
And then the leg, I took a Dremel and just Dremeled into the leg a bit, and then I weathered it up with some damage, which was pretty cool to do. So I think
pretty
it is super cool. It was a really nice hobby opportunity as well. So I think what we'll do now is we'll go to the break. We'll do Your Tech and Law Tech, and then we'll come back and look at the other two lances.
Oh, I guess we'll catch you
Okay.
guys on the flip side then.
Oh, Lewis. Anyway, welcome back to Your Tech or Law Tech, the segment where I usually come up with some wacky facts about Battletech, either real or not. So yeah, today is a really quick one. It's just that, you ready? Local scrap has been used quite a lot to repair mechs. And a lot of repurposed trucks and signage have been used, leading to mechs appearing with writings such as wide load, processed chicken, and adult toys for sale appearing on the sides of mechs.
By local scrap, do you mean scrap from the Midlands, or do you
Like-
mean
like-
do you mean scrap?
No, like
scrap from the
they're
planet.
taking off.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're taking off signs. They've taken off pieces of trucks and just nailed it on. It's obviously not as effective, but you know, when you're in a rush, you might need it.
I think
Just kind of just bolted it on. So, what do you think?
I think that sounds like something that does happen, but I've not heard of anyone having adult sex toys on the side of their mech. So I think that might be a Your Tech.
I don't think you've been paying attention to Nathan's paint jobs then, to be honest.
Yeah, I keep finding sex toys everywhere.
Also, I think you'll find I just said adult toys. That could be Battletech for all we know.
Adult toys.
Sorry,
Well, I
Nathan.
mean, I use Battletech as sex toys, so.
Oh,
I have been known
oh,
to
dear.
run a wasp.
It's got a flared text base.
I've been known to run a wasp or two over a girl's titties, you know.
I'm gonna have to put explicit on this episode. You guys are gone too far now.
You won't.
So yeah, so I think it's a your tech. What do you guys think?
It's a law tech.
That's a law tech if I ever done heard one.
Yep, it's absolutely a law tech. Obviously, that one part was just a joke I threw in, but other than that, yeah, scrap has been used a fuck ton to repair mechs in times of crisis. So yeah, Lewis
I
somehow.
think the thing for me, right, is like, does that happen in real life? Like, do people like? I feel like in times of need, like, especially if you're fighting like a
Yeah,
a long
100%.
war, I feel like you will be using a lot of scrap to repair all your shit, right?
Yeah, like there's images where like M4 Shermans have sometimes they've like had concrete cast over the hull to be like extra armor. A lot of like
I saw
tanks.
bulldozer with that.
Yeah, a lot of tanks in Syria had like bricks piled on, or they'd have like netting and stuff, or in Ukraine at the moment they're putting like anti-drone like welded nets over the top. So yeah, scrap's used all the time.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, cool. Well, we seem to have we've beaten you this time, Nathan. We'll see if you.
No, those two have beaten me. You somehow lost this week.
How
Lewis.
much it was your
This means that Lewis's mechs
it's a
balance
law
from last episode is now -4 rather than -3.
Did you say it was a law tech or a yaw tech?
Was it a yaw tech?
Quite similar. No, it's a law tech.
I'm sorry, Lewis, you lost.
Oh, whatever.
I remember last week when you said, and I quote, "How can you guys fall for it every time?" And it's open.
How the mighty have fallen.
You fool! You damn fool! Yeah, we'll be back in next week with another your tech or law tech if I can actually find any that we haven't said on the podcast so far.
Well,
So, yeah.
if you got any interesting ones, guys, feel free to send them in to Nathan at hexpertshelpline@gmail.com. And I won't look at them, promise. If you put on brackets, don't look at them, Lewis, promise. All right, cool. Well,
But also, if you do want to email the Hexperts email address, please do give us a heads up if you don't mind us sort of reading out your sort of emails on the podcast. Obviously, you can email us privately and we can keep that to ourselves. But if you'd like us to read out on the podcast, please do.
Yeah,
Let us know.
we might start doing like mailbag episodes if we start getting enough. I
I
think.
don't know if we're going to get that much.
That'd be good.
We get
Yeah,
so-
we know that.
we actually get too many right now.
I mean, to be fair, we got like 5 or 6. So it's
Hey,
like,
that's pretty good.
That's mostly
Yeah.
me. That's mostly me emailing the podcast.
Pretty cool.
Cool. Well, yeah, that is your tech or law tech for this week. So we'll go to another short break and we'll catch you guys on the flip side.
Right.
Waka waka.
Wow, that was so funny. That's great. Thank you, Nathan, for that. Your tech or law tech. It's so good that it was insert your tech or law tech here.
That was really good, Nathan. Also, I'm glad that only took 1 minute to have that break.
Yeah, that was such a good 1 minute break. But we're back, and we're going to look at the other 2 lances in the Rolling Thunder Company. First up is the Fire Lance. So, starting this off strongly, is Lieutenant Catherine Garrick in an awesome 8Q. It's pretty cool, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty cool. Then we have Lucas McCain in an Archer 2K. We've then got Mikhail Cherenkov in a Warhammer 6L, which is the Liao variant. And finally, we have Robert Blackwell in an FS9H Firestarter.
Is there any damage to any of these mechs?
There is, Lewis. The Warhammer is missing its right arm PPC, which was destroyed in a battle 6 months ago. And obviously, as it's a Free Worlds League, there's no replacement.
You think they
So it's just destroyed.
They just put like a large laser on there, but
I'm afraid not, Lewis.
yeah.
Also, the arm was damaged, and so it only has 15 armor points rather than the normal 20.
That's pretty cool. I did wonder why when you made your Rolling Thunder, one of your mechs was missing its arm, but now it all makes sense. Cool. And
So, what do we think?
I was going to say it's awesome because it's an awesome in there, but it's
Is the IQ the 4 PPC one?
it's the free PPC one. It's just like the stock kind of awesome.
Yeah, but still, isn't that still a bit risky in the Free Worlds League to have any PPCs?
I think that they're made, aren't the Awesomes made in the Free Worlds League as well? Which is weird.
Yeah. Yeah,
How do they run out of PPCs then? If they got the PPC mech?
Because they keep putting them in all the Awesomes. Yeah, if you did,
I think this is more of like a Command Lance than the Command Lance, to be honest, other than the Battlemaster, but like the Arch can just take that role.
I think you just see a lot of Command Lances have archers. I don't know why. They're not bad, but they're not as amazing as Cranston and Jamie Wall and Morgan Kell think they are. Yeah, it's pretty solid fire lance. So you got the power of the awesome. We would have more PPCs off the Warhammer.
Yeah, there's only having one is a bit of a letdown, but
the fire starter was unusual.
Put an IC-10 on there.
What was the last mech again? Sorry, Tom, I was listening.
It was the fire starter.
Fire starter. What was the other one? They got the
2K Archer.
Yeah, I think it's pretty solid. The fire starter is an unusual choice. You think it would have a longer range kind of light mech in there, but is it the stock fire starter? Like a standard one?
Yeah, it's the 9H, which I think is the stock fire starter, yeah.
Oh, but to be honest though, thinking, because I did actually read some of this book, there's a reason why they like this mech. Which do you want to talk about now, or do you want to talk about later, Tom?
We can talk about that later.
Cool.
Do they like the mech because of the fact that they don't know it's going to be redundant in about 5 years in law?
No, there's another reason that they use it, but yeah, it makes sense now. I was thinking it's a strange mech to have in the Fire Lance, but it makes sense actually thinking about it.
Actually, Lewis,
it's in the name, so
actually, Lewis, why don't you talk about it now since you've brought it up?
Well, Tom, I will do then. Well, the one of the tactics that the Rolling Thunder employs is that on the way out, they like to set fire to things, making smoke screens that their mechs can walk behind without being shot by, which makes sense now why they'd have a fire starter to start the fires. So they can hide.
Pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah, to be honest, it's a cool idea, and it's something actually you can pull off in Classic, but most people don't because it's difficult to keep track of fire and smoke unless you're playing on something like Mega Mech.
We really don't like doing smoke simulations, do we?
I think on Mega Mech it's not so bad, but I think in person, when you're just trying to play a 2.5 hour game, it's probably a bit more complicated than needs to be. But in theory, even in Classic, it's actually like a solid tactic. If you get in, do your mission, put up a smoke screen and leave, it's actually a really solid tactic. And as I was saying as well, the mechs themselves, an archer and a warhammer, for the time period, there's not really that much better mechs you could have for a fire lance, really.
Yeah, it's pretty good. So he also, it seems, acts as the forward observer for the archer as well. So when he's not creating smoke screens, he's able to give the archer indirect fire capability.
Fantastic.
Which is quite cool. So finally, we have the attack lance. And this is led by Lieutenant Francis Canny in an Ossol 4D. Then there is a Esteban Rodriguez in an Ostrock 2C, who I will say has a magnificent moustache.
Big in his head.
Which is cool.
It is very, like, classic Wild West villain tied to a railway track with a stick of dynamite.
Absolutely. We then have Jacob Bianco in a Shadowhawk 2H.
Boom.
And finally, we have Anton Karlevsky in a Wolverine 6M. So there's a couple of interesting things about this lance. Unfortunately, the Ossol has only got 3 points of armor instead of the normal 8 on its left arm, which makes it considerably weaker on a weak armor mech.
It's not like
The Ossol is.
It's not like it needs the arms. There's surplus requirements on those at least.
Actually, yeah, it is. Then we have Esteban Rodriguez. His Ostrock took a pretty nasty punch from a Steiner Griffin that destroyed the SRM-4 launcher.
Yeah, it's a bit annoying, but it's not too bad for that mech.
No. And then finally, we have the Wolverine, which, unlike the normal variant, is the Marik variant, which replaces the autocannon and the ammunition with a large laser, two heat sinks, a medium laser, and another ton of armor. So, I like this version of the Wolverine.
It actually does seem very cool, because I always find that, like, whenever you run the Wolverine, yeah, you're a bit like half in, half out with what range you should actually sit at.
And this is you want to be at 3 hexes.
Which makes sense for an attack lance. I will say, though, I like this lance, but they have missed a massive opportunity to have the Ost Scout as well. To have the full collection.
The egg lords. So what do we think then? What do we think?
I think this is your hammer that bangs the mechs into the anvil. That is the command lance, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's pretty solid. The nice fast mechs, Ossol, Ostrock, Wolverine, real solid. What was the last one in there? Now I got the. My brain only goes up to 3 now. Shadowhawk. Yeah. Oh, obviously, some of us don't like the Shadowhawk 2H, but he's pretty quick and he's a good all rounder. And like if you're going to be ahead of the front line, then he's not a bad mech to have up there. So I think it's for what it's designed to do, it's pretty solid lance, to be honest.
It's not bad, is it?
No.
One thing I'm quite surprised at with these lances is previously in the book, it does actually say that the Hussars overall do have a big liking towards a certain mech, and that mech hasn't appeared in any of these lances.
Very true. It's very true. I think these are. I do think these are kind of meant to buck the trend a little bit.
Yeah, they're supposed to be a bit quirky. They get a bit quirky at night,
Quirked up boys. So I've got to ask you, overall, what do you think about the company composition of Rolling Thunder?
I think it's pretty solid. I think especially if you go through about what the actual kind of plan the company runs through is as well.
It's good. I really like it. Nathan, do you have any thoughts?
I really do like it because it bucks the organisational trend, but it also kind of feels like you have a mercenary company inside of a regiment.
Mm-hmm.
Like the early SAS where it's all like a volunteer regiment. But they're like the espionage dudes, or we've got this one key target, have a little task force, throw them at the issue, and hopefully they come back.
Nathan, I have to ask, Nathan, is your reference to that based on the fact that you keep seeing YouTube shorts about that SAS regiment?
No, not really. I mean, I've watched the show about it, which I think is what the shorts are.
I keep getting references to this show that I've never seen before called like SAS Guys.
It's SAS Rogue Heroes.
Yeah, and every time on YouTube Shorts, it's all I get. And what I do want is Hexperts, because if you go on YouTube Shorts and you look at Hexperts, you can see clips from our podcast throughout the hilarious comments that we make, and you get to view those in the short format rather than seeing a really long podcast. So if you do, if you want to skip to the good bits of the podcast, you can just look at our YouTube Shorts.
Thanks, Dom, for the advertising.
Thanks for the plug of the own podcast. That is pretty epic.
but yeah, I think as Tom is probably going to come over to as well shortly, is that it's a pretty solid kind of company, but also they have a kind of standard way of running, which I think is that hammer and anvil with your command lance and your command lance, fire lance, and then the attack lance comes around and bids the hammer that is the anvil onto them. And then and then I think they've got the Hermes can start fires, the fire starter can start fires, they make a smoke screen, and then they skedaddle. Is that
I think that's I think that's definitely how they work. I think the ability for the Hermes and the Firestarter, two very fast mechs, to be able to reposition quickly and sort of, even if the fire's not necessarily to like mask their retreat, but to provide like some physical barriers, because mechs don't like going through flames.
Not at this point, anyway.
No, definitely not. I mean, in the Ill Clan, when they fight on Terra, Canada's turned into a raging inferno to try and stop some mechs. So it's a valid tactic. If you want to cut off the enemy and you've got a forest, just set it on fire.
Yeah, but please do not set fire to Canada.
Thinks that setting fires is fun and good.
I am actually a pyromaniac.
Here's a fire starter.
I'm a fire starter.
Oh dear.
So true.
Cool. But yeah,
Very funny.
that's the company then, Tom. Is there anything else interesting in this book?
Yeah, so actually the book has, I believe, it's 4 actually, scenarios. Now, we're not going to go through all of them because they are quite long, and this book is available online for anyone that wants to get it.
Really?
No, I think it costs $5 from Catalyst Game Labs.
Okay, that's not too bad. That's for an entire source book. That's actually really reasonable.
Yeah, it's 33 pages long. It's got some good stuff. I've made a whole mech company out of it, which is cool. So I'd highly recommend it. And, it's super fun scheme to do as well. So what I'm going to go ask is kind of if we round table this and talk about whether there's a specific scenario that you guys like and sort of what you find cool about it.
I say, look at is it the first two? It was your 3 that you're usually against mostly vehicles. Is that right? Or
Yeah. Well, it's the first two. The first two are against. Yeah, the first one you're against a lot of harassers, scorpions, and some infantry actually, and then in the second one, you've got some von Luckners there.
yeah, that's in a city as well. That one, isn't it?
Yes, it is City Tech. Yeah, so I think this is meant to be against like Lyrans during one of their raids. But
City Tech is still the same game, isn't it? City Tech's not a different version of Battletech. It's just the same, but in a city.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
It's like the 40k City Fighters.
Is there different rules and stuff for fighting in the city?
No, it's just different.
More rules.
There's more rules, yeah, because
Yeah.
you can. So actually, as part of this scenario, infantry are deployed using hidden units, so they're hidden inside the buildings.
Okay. Can you crush buildings?
Yeah,
Oh,
100%.
definitely.
Nice.
You can
So
blow
you
the buildings while they're inside, or
You can
even
set
if they're
fire
not
to
inside.
them.
Yeah, with your Firestarter and Hermes.
Yeah.
Cool.
Nice. That's pretty fun. Not that it's fun to set fire to buildings, but
But I think it's a good place. It's for those mechs. It's actually you actually get a chance to use mechs and use their weapons. I suppose same for the Battlemaster. Get to use the little machine guns on him.
Yeah, probably my favorite one, I think, is it's a toss-up for me between the third and fourth. I think honorable mention goes to the third one for having Big Mac there, which is cool.
Yeah, do like the big mech.
But I think I'm going to have to go with the fourth, which is called Guerrilla Warfare Rumble in the Jungle.
Yes, that's cool now.
Oh,
which
what a
is
name.
you basically fight in a jungle. And
I'd be really upset if you didn't now. It's like,
actually,
no
it's
jungle.
in an urban environment.
Actually, you have to fight in McDonald's. You have to fight in the McDonald's drive-through.
Yes, it's the attack lance of Rolling Thunder, which is the defender. So that's the Ossault, Ostrock, Shadowhawk, and the Wolverine against a Wolverine, Phoenix Hawk, Jenna, and Assassin, and then 5 platoons of infantry
Interesting.
who are deployed
Is that a
hidden.
lot?
Not particularly, but so what I think is cool about this is the victory conditions are the attacker wins by destroying or disabling all enemy mechs, so that means destroying Rolling Thunder. The defender wins by destroying or disabling the attacker, so the other one. All other results are a draw, reflecting the no-win conditions that are so often typical of guerrilla warfare.
that's so funny. And here's a political statement.
Here's a political statement. And special rules are all light wood hexes are considered heavy woods, clear terrain is considered light woods. So
that
As
can
a
be a
prob-
pain to get through.
Yeah.
you
unless got
just
jump jet.
can't see anything. You're just fighting in just the horrific jungle. This,
So this is one definitely that you're not doing within 2 hours at the local shop.
Oh no! This is you're taking like a day to play this one. Fortunate Son's playing as well as you're doing this.
I was looking at this one when you said it was nice, lance on lance with a bit of infantry. I thought this sounds like a nice simple scenario. It won't be too difficult. But now it's like, oh yeah, everything is woods. Even things that aren't woods are now woods.
Oh god, I just
Everything is
realised
woods.
as well.
What's that?
Everything has to be close range.
Yep, everything. If you're more than 3 hexes, if you're more than 3 hexes away from someone, you just can't see them.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
So that's your favourite one then, Tom?
Yeah, I just think it'd be funny just to play through the pain. To be fair, though, the attackers, like the infantry, aren't going to really be moving anywhere,
Yeah.
and the Wolverine, Phoenix Hawk, Jenna, and Assassin are all jump capable.
Yeah.
So one side's having a great time. The Shadowhawk and the Wolverine are definitely jump capable. Are the Ostrock and Ossol?
Don't know if I can't remember now off the top of my head.
I think the Ossol might be
The Ossol might.
the middle
we
one.
We have access to the internet, guys.
Oh well, I'm gonna fill some air while you look that up, Lewis. Yeah, I think that it's very fun, and yeah, just having all of this foliage around you is just a cool thought. I always think that putting Battletech into situations, like more historical situations, is cool. So Vietnam with battle mechs is pretty fun.
Yeah.
Fun is a
Battletech,
word.
Battletech trench warfare.
Yeah.
would be fun.
I can't.
Actually really like that one. I think that is my favourite one. But one thing that I do like about all the scenarios is that they have like a little fluff piece where it reads like the clone logs from the Battlefront games.
Oh yeah, it does, doesn't it? Yeah. What I
Yeah.
learned, what I remember about the fall of the Jedi was how quiet it was. So okay, thanks,
Yeah.
thanks man. Kids.
Anyway,
Thanks for doing a genocide.
Anyway, the Ostrock and the Ossol do not have jump jets, so they're going to be having a bad
having-
time.
The worst. Don't even have an SRM on the Ostrock. Having the worst time.
Yeah. Cool. So, is that everything in the book for us, Tom?
That is everything in the book, and that kind of brings us to the end of our first FASA feature. I love.
That's only
this
pretty
FASA.
cool.
It's pretty cool.
Genuinely pretty cool. Like
Yeah.
from an outsider's perspective, it just seems like there's so much more to what I'd normally heard of from BattleTech. A lot of what I see, to be honest, is people fighting over like green map. So the idea that you can be fighting in the city,
Green map
in the
or
jungle.
yellow map.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say I was drawn to this after friend of the show, Mike. Actually, no, I think I called him enemy of the show previously. So mortal enemy of the show, Mike, was doing some Sorensen sabers from one of the other source books, and so he inspired me to go and look to see what other options there were, and then I did Rolling Thunder. So, Mike, this is a call out. Finish your damn sabers so we can play.
Yeah, it's good.
Finish your sabers and come on the podcast and talk about the sabers.
Yeah, you can have a Sorensen saber.
You can have a
FASA segment.
FASA feature.
FASA
We
feature.
can have
there
an
we go.
episode and we can call it Saber Rattling, and it can be very cool and
Oh.
epic.
But yeah, but I think to echo Dom as well, I think looking at the book, I thought I probably wouldn't be something that I thought would be too cool, but actually going through it, it's nice actually going through, getting the company, going through detail, like who's in there, what mechs are there. Actually, these mechs aren't pristine. There's some characters, some interest to them, and also going through how it might be these mechs are in this company, but it's also this is what they do with these mechs as well, which is pretty cool. So it's like it's just a nice all round, like a nice little round kind of book covering everything you probably want to cover. And like you said, it's just 12 mechs. You paint them up, and then you ready to go. You can do those scenarios, or you can drop them in and somewhere else and see how they do in your own made up scenarios, or put them in somewhere where they should be in the universe.
Or you just put them on your shelf, which is what I've done with them. Because
For now,
that'd be
anyway.
yeah, for now until I play a game with them. But yeah, I'm proof that it's doable.
Yeah.
It's 12 mechs. I mean, a couple of them are a little bit hard to get hold of at the moment with the Kickstarter business. So I did have to spend some money to source those, but I think that
But once the Kickstarter comes out on the 17th of May, in theory, I think not all of them are out at the same time, but in theory, once the Kickstarter stuff finally drops, actually all of them will be available in plastic. So it's not like
there's no weird makes that you have to get from Ironwind Metals. No, they are all in plastic.
Yeah, which is pretty smart and pretty cool. Any statements from yourself, Nathan?
Great book. We need more of them, especially one about Gallus. I think that'd be very nice.
I don't think they're going to bring
Put it in the books.
I don't think.
FASA, come back from the grave. Stop being in receivership, and make a Gallus source book, please.
And I think that's everyone, isn't it? Dom, I think Dom's actually said Dom went first. So yeah, that's all of us. Cool. So yes, so we're going to go to a break, and we're going to catch you guys on the flip side.
On the flip side.
Yeah. And we're back from break, and we've got Mech of the Week. And my Mech of the Week has been moved across for this Mech of the Week, which is the Trebuchet, that apparently was mentioned in the book, but I didn't hear a single mention of the Trebuchet, Nathan. So could you please explain why you've kicked my poor dragon further along?
So, as many of you might actually know, the Trebuchet is a very big mech in these parts of the woods that we're covering, the Free Worlds League. And actually, in the book, if you go to all the fluff about the First Regulan Hussars,
It's all about this particular mech.
it goes over the unit formations, and it actually describes how the First Regulan Hussars, the first company of them, uses full lances of these mechs just because they just find them so good, and they find that they can deal with targets at long range while still being able to defend themselves. And to be fair, after having a look into them, they definitely can, especially if there's 4 of them.
Do any of you use this mech? Do any of you use this particular mech?
Yeah, we've used it.
I like the standard Trebuchet quite a bit. I use it in my talking of House Gallus, I use it in my House Espinosa Lance quite a lot.
I will be picking some of these up in due haste because I never knew such a beautiful creature existed until
It's pretty cool, right?
I was inspired by the book and had a look. And so, yeah, let's go over a bit of the fluff surrounding it. So, the Trebuchet debuted in 2780 during the waning years of the Star League. And with the onset of Succession Wars, none other than the Free Worlds League took over the manufacture site on Stuart as it fell into their territory. However,
Sorry, is that the name of the planet, or is that like a guy?
No, that's the name of the planet. The planet Stuart.
What a terrible name for a planet.
Hi, the name it's daft stuff like Coventry, so why wouldn't they call it Stuart?
Whoa.
Yeah, but Stuart is literally just a name. It'd be like having a planet
Didn't
called
they call
like
it-
Graham.
Didn't they call it like a planet Bob? Wasn't that one of our Warhammers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're running out of names. If you've got like a 2,000 planets to name, you're going to start calling them Stuart at some
No,
point.
no. Because I feel like you'll be able to get.
What?
You could have like Earth 2, Earth 3.
Where's like the Stuart limit? Where's like the limit of renamed worlds it takes till we get to Stuart?
I love that, like Lewis's entire capability of imagination limited to 2,000 words before he gets to Stuart.
It's limited to animated mouse.
Why are you blaming me for the planet being called Stuart as well?
Look, we've named the last planet Mickey 1999. Have we got any left?
Yeah, the original Trebuchet was actually the 3C, which we'll go over, but it's quite an advanced version. And as you know, all of the good technology got thrown out the window during the ensuing wars. And that meant that Corian Enterprises had to go back to the drawing board to create the iconic Trebuchet 5N using slightly less advanced technologies. So this mech is, as I said before, they're absolutely loved by the Free World League's military. And the standard configuration is to have a Trebuchet, another Trebuchet, which can't have enough, an Archer, and a Centurion.
Actually, kind of a good lance.
And wouldn't you be shocked? This is a configuration used for siege operations by, guess who? The Regulan Hussars.
Nathan's linking the episode
Sadly-
together.
Sadly, this did fall into the hands of the other stinky great houses as a distinction during the rest of the succession wars in nearly every major operation, with a number of variants created to fulfill various needs. So, Lewis,
Yeah.
would you mind going over a little bit of what the Trebuchet 5N is made of?
Cool. The Trebuchet 5N is a 50-ton mech. It has a Korean Model 9C chassis, a Magna 250 engine that lets it run up to 86 kilometers an hour, 53 miles an hour in real measurements, or 8 hexes.
It's as fast as a family transit van.
If you had that coming towards you at that speed, I would be worried. It's pretty fast for a medium mech. It's got 2 Zeus LRM-15 launchers, one in its right torso and one of its left arm. Backing these up, it has a trio of Magna Mark II medium lasers, 2 in its right arm and 1 in its left. It has 10 heat sinks. It is 1,191 BV, and it will set you back 4,293,500 C bills.
How much is that, like, relatively? Because that's really hard to understand.
Is it 8 C bills to the dollar or something? What was the conversion, Tom?
I don't know. It's a lot of money.
I think it's. Let me do the conversion. Let's do the conversion while we're here.
I mean, if it's 8 C bills to $1, it would be about $500,000.
Was it
Which
the-
isn't really that
which is-
expensive to build a giant war machine.
was it the-
Yeah, and especially when it comes to battle mechs as well. Medium battle mechs, that is decently priced, both BV and in C bills.
Is it that way around, or have I got it the wrong way around? Is it actually times 8? I don't know. It's either not a lot.
Well-
It's either like 1 million or like 34 million to make.
But in general, it seems like all of the mechs in this game are just like underpriced in terms of like modern value. So like,
I think
like-
if you talk about it like, if you said now to make that, it'd be insane. And I think it's still hard to make in the universe, but I think it's at a point where they can make these things and it's not unheard of. So like, it's, like as things get more, as things progress, things get cheaper to make, like your phones. Like when your mobile phone came out, that would have cost millions or billions equivalent to, but now costs you £200. I think probably that kind of.
why aren't they always making loads of mechs then? If that's the case, why don't they just make 1 billion mechs and just have them just?
So they can't. There are only so many factories, and you can only make so much stuff. So it's really an issue of production, like capacity.
Right, so I'm
And-
guessing there's
yeah.
some sort of political intrigue associated with that. Then, as like, sort of-
Yeah, there is.
Usually, I mean, if you call a giant volley of missiles from a capital ship a political intrigue, then yeah, there is.
Also, it's in Comstar's best interest to keep the houses unable to make large stockpiles of battle mechs.
yeah, because they don't want them sort of being too powerful.
Yeah, so Comstar is there just to keep the status quo. So it's not that they want someone to win; they want everyone else to lose.
In the Game of Thrones, everyone loses or something.
Yeah,
Game of Thrones in
you want-
space.
So, Tom, why don't we go over some of the variants that we've
Whoa.
show? Up
I
to
will actually.
around 30, 25, 30, 30.
So the first one we're going to talk about is the Trebuchet 3C. So this was the SLDF produced Trebuchet, carrying 2 Artemis 4 equipped LRM-15s with case in there as well. So that's cellular ammunition storage equipment, he says, with
Close enough. It's probably. I think it's
Yeah.
right.
It stops things from exploding so badly. It also has 4 medium lasers, double heat sinks, and an endo-steel chassis with a 300 rated extra light fusion engine. So, this is the gold standard for the Trebuchet, but the attrition of the First Succession War forced Korean enterprises into redesigning the mech without all of this cool stuff to keep the production lines running because they couldn't make some of this stuff anymore.
It's a proper solid map, that is.
Oh, it's a real good one. So now we're into some less proper solid mechs. the first one we're going to look at of the Succession War eras are the Trebuchet 5J. So this is a trade-off that sacrifices raw firepower for mobility. One of the LRMs has been removed, but it's replaced with 5 jump jets, giving the Trebuchet a jumping distance of 150 meters, which is pretty good. Additionally, the armor has been increased by half a ton, and 5 heat sinks have been added to the design. So this was first produced in the Free Worlds League in 2850 for their mobile regiments, and was used to surprising effect in their debut against the Capella Confederation's Chesterton Reserves. I think this is okay. I think the lack of an LRM-15 is bad, but it solves a lot of the problems of the Trebuchet, which is under heat synced.
Yeah, but I think the heat sink, so the jump jets are pretty good because it's obviously going to be jumping 5 Hexes, so getting to some good positions. But I think an LRM-15 it just probably isn't enough. I think you're probably going to be relying more on those medium lasers to actually put the damage out now.
Yeah.
I don't know. I personally, I prefer the 5N to this, but I'm sure if you're on a map with lots of hills and mountains,
Or Lewis,
yeah,
or Lewis, that final scenario with all of the trees.
yeah, you wouldn't need an LM-15 because you couldn't see them.
So true.
I'm sorry, I'm still thinking about the Chesterton Reserves. They sound like a local cricket club.
Dom
That does not sound like...
Dom can't get over the names. Dom, when there's 2,000 reserves, you can only get so far before you become the Chesterton.
Yeah, they're the reserve forces from the planet of Chesterton.
The most deadly water polo team in the galaxy.
The Innosphere quakes at their ability to play lacrosse.
Literally.
Monty, deploy the Chesterton Reserves.
Well,
anyway, before we're too far off track, the next one we're going to go to is the Trebuchet 5S. So this modifies the design from a long-range fire support mech to a close combat machine. The LRMs have been completely replaced with 2 Thunderstroke SRM-6s.
Thunderstroke?
What is so funny about that? Just because it sounds like the song title of AC/DC's Hornier Cousins.
and an additional 8 heat sinks have been placed in there. My goodness.
Tom's flustered.
I'm flustered. The Free World League's tremendous success with pairing the 5S models with 5Ns in the late 3030s would cause their military planners to consider expanding this concept to other units. So this is an interesting one. I think on its own it probably suffers a little bit, but I do actually like the idea of putting the 5Ns and the 5Ss together.
Yeah. I think, to be honest as well, it kind of it covers its bracket rather than having the medium lasers as a backup, or you've kind of got the long range and the medium range weapons or the short range weapons. You've just gone
all short,
and with the extra heat sinks as well, it's designed to do all the SRMs and all the medium lasers. But
yeah, I was about to say you can run and fire everything, and you're heat neutral,
and also it's cheap as well. It's 948 BV. That's
oh my god, it is.
I was about to say at that price, what you could do for say the next Lance-off is upgrade, get 2 of them and 2 of the is it 5N? Yeah. 5Ns, and get 2 of these and upgrade them to have the fire missiles, the Inferno rounds.
Nah, Infernos. Maybe Infernos would be nasty, to be fair.
Yeah, you can do 24 heat to 1 mech in a turn.
But you can't, Nathan, because it's capped at 15
per mech.
No, per turn.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, been lied to again.
But haven't I told you this?
You said it was per mech?
No, it's 15. Yeah.
Oh, well. Still, I really like this version, and I really want to run like a full trebuchet.
I think this is not a bad mech, but I'm sure if we look at the amount of armor it's got, you might be put off it slightly. But I think the trebuchets aren't too bad if they're sitting a bit further back. But if they're on the front line, I think that's where they might struggle a little bit.
Lewis is also very biased because we're not talking about the dragon, so take what he's saying.
It's not the dragon. He doesn't care.
No dragon here. Cool.
Damn. So the final variant we're going to look at today isn't actually a Free Worlds League variant. It comes from the Dakota Combine.
Yeah.
It's the Trebuchet 7K. This is a radical departure from the 5N model. It's a prototype used by the Drax to test whether direct fire support was a viable alternative to indirect fire support. So they were trying to switch things up. The entire weapons complement was replaced with a PPC and an autocannon 5 as its primary weapons, with an SRM-2 launcher for close-range fire support. Whether the design proved successful or not was lost in the chaos of the 3030s, as the proliferation of new technologies caused radical shake-ups in the Combine's design bureaus. So that's the old Theodore Carita coming in and changing things.
Yeah. It's
Old heir to the dragon.
So it's a bit of an unusual mech, though, isn't it? It's not something. It's not.
I
I wouldn't put together.
hate it.
Oh no!
Yeah,
I don't like this design.
I think it does what it sets out to do, though, because it's obviously the PPC and the autocannon 5 are a long range weapon, and
I
yeah,
am in the same boat as Tom. I'm not a fan of this.
but
Spy Panther.
yeah, I suppose. But for the points, though, PPC autocannon 5, it's not a lot more than the Panther, really, and it's probably got a bit more armor.
No jump.
No jump, but does it need jump?
No jump.
You just sit back there just thinking away?
Yep. Absolutely. The only time I've seen these was when I was playing the Harebrained Schemes game, and I just kept killing them because they're really bad.
Okay, so not of his only success there. Would you rather pay slightly less BV and have the 5S with the SRM6s?
Yes, Lewis, absolutely. I would rather have 8 extra heat sinks, and because you don't even have the medium lasers because the entire weapons complement has been taken out. So the moment someone gets within 3 hexes of you, you're just sitting there with your dick out with an SRM2.
I think it's safe to say Trebuchet 7K, enemy of the podcast.
Yeah.
Sworn death to the 7K.
Talking
Stop.
of enemies, what's your special trebuchet that you and Grave use on people as well, Tom? Moving forward a little bit in time.
God, yeah, 2 seconds. I need to just look this up because I didn't know Lewis was going to jump on me in this way, but I will talk about it. Is it the Oh god, where is it?
It's the one with the
Oh, it's the 9N, isn't it? Yeah, it's the 9N made by Tavastar Enterprises. It is actually for the Principality of Regulars.
Oh, so it's keeping it within
for a measly 1550 BV, you'll get an XL engine, an XL gyro.
Yep.
I think it's a 696. No, it's not 69. Sorry.
Yeah.
But that's kind of irrelevant because what it carries is 2 Clan LRM-15s, so no minimum range, which is insane, and then 3 medium variable speed pulse lasers, which do like 9 damage at short range.
Yeah, and they get are they -3 at short, or is it?
Yeah, they are.
So they're going to hit you, and it's quite happy. It's quite happy getting in your face. It's
100%. It's got case 2.
Bad touch trebuchet.
We do call it the bad touch trebuchet locally.
Yeah.
I didn't realise how bad it was. In the mercenary campaign, I picked up a random local hire who had one, and I was like, "This seems all right." And everyone was like, "Tom, no, it's the bad touch trebuchet."
Don't use that one.
Yeah. And then I bad touch people with it.
Yeah,
you guys have done some bad things here, exposing me to this information.
Oh no, what have we done? But yeah, if you want to make friends, don't use that trebuchet. If you want to win games, though, please do.
Yeah, it's part of my new book, How to Make Friends and Influence People. Don't use that.
Yeah. So I suppose overall thoughts on the trebuchet, I think seems to be quite positive all round. I know I'm a big fan of the trebuchet. It's quite unusual because on paper you think this is going to be my fire support mech. It's kind of a cheaper catapult, maybe cheaper archer, but it's actually not bad close up with the 3 medium lasers either. So it's a good long range support, and then it can toddle on in a little bit later on in the battlefield and start blasting away with its medium lasers. I know for me, it's the stock one's solid, and obviously some of these other variants as well give you some flexibility there. But what do you guys think?
Insanely good mech.
Yeah.
the trench bucket is well renowned for a good reason. It's so good.
Yeah. Well, Nathan, have you been converted, I think, into...
Oh yeah, absolutely. Is it? By the way, I was just thinking, is it this or the javelin that's like the dynamic duo with the Centurion usually?
It's
this.
This. So usually,
Yeah.
well, the Centurion was built to kind of bodyguard this, but it's slower than this. So like this has to slow down so the Centurion can keep up with it.
Dude, the Centurion's going to be doing nothing with the 5S. The 5S is just going to be absolutely wrecking face. And then the Centurion's just going to be like, hey, wait for me. I've got an LRM-10. It's like, what are you doing?
2 5S, 2 of the N, or the 3C, if that's somehow available, because that is also a very nice loadout.
Oh, yeah, the 3C. The 3C is so nice.
Insane for 3025. I mean, it's like, what, 4,000 points, just over?
Oh, I wouldn't mind running the that lance, with the Archer 2.
Archer 2 of them, and a Centurion, yeah.
I think maybe that, maybe two 5Ns, maybe a 5S and a 5N.
What you need, Lewis, is you need the 9AH for the Centurion.
Yeah,
just get an AC20, because the 5S is just got absolutely insane crit potential. So just punching holes with an AC20 would be good.
Yeah, but yeah, so I think all of us like it. Dom, have you got any, I suppose, closing statements on the trebuchet?
I think what I think never gets old is when people call a trebuchet a tree bucket.
Yeah,
because fundamentally, that's what it is, isn't it?
The trench bucket.
On the end.
I think they call it a trench bucket because the head looks a bit like a bucket.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the other reason is that I had a substitute teacher and everyone used to call her trench bucket, but I don't know why.
Well, that is some fantastic information to close us off there, Dom. So we'll be going across to a break and we'll catch you guys for the outro.
I think it's because she looks like a trebuchet.
Okay, Dom. We'll catch you guys after the break. And welcome back to the outro, guys. And thanks for listening to this episode, Tom's first FASA featurette.
Yeah. Oh no, it was a full feature, Lewis. There wasn't a featurette. Come on.
It's only an hour. I don't know the definition of feature and featurette. But yeah, so obviously let us know if you loved it or hated it. And maybe wish that Tom would write down more than one sentence worth for the notes of the episode.
Oh my God. Get a life, Lewis. Get a life.
But yeah, obviously, thanks guys for all the support and feedback we've been getting on the emails. Really appreciate it. Obviously, you can, if you want to get in contact with us, you can see in the description, you've got the hexpertshelpline at gmail.com. You've got us on Instagram. Where else you got us? We're on Discord and stuff. Yeah.
We're not going to tell you the Discord, but if you can find us, you are allowed to message us.
Yeah.
It's a challenge.
Yeah, and obviously liking, subscribing, sharing, all that stuff is great. Helps us spread around the Battletech community and ruin it slightly for all of you.
Yeah.
But yes, next week is episode 10, and we will surely come up with a good episode by the time we get to that point.
It's pretty good.
Cool. So we'll catch you guys then next week.
Catch you next week.
Bye, everyone.
Catch you later.